Hi, this is Tony Robbins. Welcome to the ultimate edge. Yes, the opportunity to transform your life emotionally, physically, financially, in your relationships. You name it. Sounds like a big promise, doesn't it? But really what this program is about is taking control, creating life on your terms, putting yourself in a position where the outside world is not the driving force in who you become or what you enjoy or what you create in your life. So I want to start out by first thanking you for the privilege of being able to serve you. I've been doing this for more than 3 decades, and I have to tell you, I think this is the most excited I've been. One reason is because this program is the best of everything I've learned in those 3 decades. I've managed to put together the things that I discovered and created in my early 20s that shaped, the beginning of my career when I was helping people turn things around and taking athletes to a whole new level for the very first time. Then it also includes kind of the second stage of my life as I began to mature and develop a family and have 4 children and start building businesses and start facing real challenges, looking around at life and figuring out, my God, how do you turn this thing around? Here I've got this great success supposedly, but at the same time I have these big problems I got to deal with. When the President of the United States is asking you for coaching, a top athlete in the world who's burning down on national television and they need you to help me make the change now, or a child that's suicidal. For the last 30 years, I've had the privilege of being in these situations. The opportunity to face my own challenges and the opportunity to serve other people in extraordinary ways. And I think it gives me a unique opportunity today to deliver to you this ultimate edge. And the ultimate edge doesn't mean you're not going to have problems or everything's going to be perfect. But it really is the insights, the tools, the strategies, the triggers that I've been obsessed on looking for that change the quality of life literally in a moment, without exaggeration. We all know there are times in your life where you've been frustrated, overwhelmed, or you've been trying to change something. Maybe you've been stuck. But there's something inside of you finally snaps. It may have taken you 10 years to get to that moment, but there's a moment where it all changes. I've spent these last 3 decades looking for what is happening in that moment so you can make that moment happen now. And I'm also hopefully intelligent enough to know that I don't have all the answers, but I promise you, I can help you get in the place where you can find yours. That's what's going to happen over the course of these couple of weeks we'll spend together. I also want you to know right now up front that I don't take lightly the time you're taking to do this or who you are as a person. I don't know what brought you here. I don't know if it was accelerating your achievement or dealing with a big problem, a big challenge that you're facing right now. I don't know if you've entered a new stage of life where maybe you've been so successful, but now you're really not fulfilled. It's like been there, done that. Or if you're facing a real challenge, something's changed in the economy or in your government or your company or where the people you work with, or maybe, your kids have grown up. I don't know what it is, but we all enter stages of life where the chapter changes. And those are the times when we usually reach out and say, I need to find every resource I can to take myself to the next level or to turn this situation around. What are you looking for? Is it transformation of a relationship or the creation of one? Some love and some real passion, not just hanging out? Are you looking for freedom? Are you looking for the ability to just take control of your time? Are you looking for some fulfillment or maybe an experience of more meaning? Is it fun you really want to have finally? I can promise you over the next few days, although you may not think it's going to show up in a place like this, people think this is an educational program or motivational program. I hope you'll be inspired by what we work on, but I can promise you're going to have some fun because there's enormous power and enjoyment in discovering what makes you tick. What's driving you, what's been holding you back, and what can move you forward right now. So I don't take lightly, again, your participation in this, and I can promise you this, I will not betray your trust. I don't say that lightly, I mean it. And what I mean by that is I know you can get your money back from a program like this or anything you've done or invested in, but the one thing you can never get back is your time. And so my goal is to make sure that each day, if you'll give yourself the gift of finding some segment of your day and just saying, I'm going to take time to really think about what matters in my life. And I'm going to use this crazy guy over here, this coach, this Tony Robbins guy, as a trigger for me to find out what really matters at this stage, to find out what tools will get me to the next level, to kind of just each day give me a little push over the edge, a little focus on what matters, a skill that makes a difference, get me to take a little bit of action so I can build on it and make things work. If you'll find that, what I call net time, that no extra time, like when you're driving in your car or you're working out or you're going for a walk or cleaning the house or whatever it is you do, if you'll give yourself this gift, I promise you, these next few days we spend together will be days you will not forget. And you'll look back on and say, those are the days I took myself to the next level. Those are the days when I took control. Those are the days when I faced the challenge and I finally decided to conquer it. Maybe it all didn't get solved in one day, but those are the days I created the momentum that changed everything in my life. Now, again, as I'm speaking this to you, I'm thinking, what are you thinking? And are you thinking this guy's over the top? Are you thinking this guy's just making a bunch of promises? Are you thinking, yeah, good talk, but where's the walk? If you want to know who I really am, you don't have to watch how my lips move. Anybody can do that. Watch how a person's feet move for 30 years. What people say is one thing. What they do and how they live their life is everything else. And I can tell you, do any homework on me, you'll find this is how I live my life. I'm one crazy, loving, passionate nut that's out there to help people change their lives. And I don't just do it with my clients. I've done it for 30 years with people that I feel society has forgotten. And I'm really proud of the fact that years ago, when I was 11 years old, we had no money, no food at Thanksgiving. And a family, somebody supported us. They brought us food. So when I was 17, I started the same process, and I've been doing it ever since. And so today, I've been able to help enough people that I don't just help them succeed, but I really want to help them to be fulfilled. And part of that comes from having some part of your life contributing beyond yourself, not just money, but your time, your energy, your love, your heart. So I'm really proud to tell you that our foundation now feeds more than 2 million people in 36 countries. So, I can work with a president, I can work with a prisoner, I can work with a child. This process, though, all came from me, some kid who, frankly, didn't have a whole lot of confidence 30 years ago, not even close. I didn't have any special gift or any special talent, but I did have that hunger. That hunger to say life has got to be more than what I'm living. That hunger to say I'm not willing to settle. That hunger that made me seek out answers. And I grew up in a pretty tough environment, so I didn't have any great role models around me. But what I began to do is I began to just read biographies, people's lives and what they've been through, and began to notice there was a pattern, that there were seasons of life and that certain people took advantage of the season and other people let the season take advantage of them. And I began to, read personal development books and psychology. I'm talking about I started doing this when I was 16 years old. It's a little bit before that, but that's when I got into it heavy. And I became Mr. Solution in school because you got a problem, man. I knew the answers because I was looking for them. And I started with me. I wanted to transform myself. And how'd I do it? Kind of like the structure of this program, frankly. I found that, if I was really going to make progress, if I was really going to break through, that I really had to take control of one of the most fundamental powers that every human being has, focus. You look at anything you're good at in your life. I mean, if you're listening to me right now and there's some areas of your life you want to change, there got to be some areas you're pretty thrilled with too. And if you're honest, if you're fair with yourself, I mean, everybody's got an area they're doing well in at some point in their life. I mean, if you're not doing great in your career, you're probably doing really great in your body. If your career's doing great, then often you don't have enough time for your kids. If you're doing a great job with your kids, often your intimate relationship isn't where you want to be. But there's something out there that at some stage of our life we've done really well. And the reason we do well in it, number one, is we give it its focus. If you're great in your career, man, that's your focus. If you're great with your children, it's got your focus. Remember, wherever focus goes, energy flows. So if there's a first pillar of success in anything, or at least the pillar of progress, for sustainable progress, for a sustainable result, we've got to be able to put focus into an area. Now, some people say, well, yeah, but I've been focusing. I've been focusing on the fact I need to lose weight, and I'm not happy with that. Well, it's not as simple as focus. I began to realize I need to focus on what I want. And I got to make it really compelling. I got to be focused. I got to be clear, and it's got to be compelling. I got to take control of this natural human spiritual talent that every one of us has. So I began to do that. And I began to do it with books and eventually with audio tapes. I mean, I started out, I used to go to a place called Night Education, K-N-I-G-H-T. I remember the symbol of this night going. I was this young kid down in Los Angeles. I had no money or anything, and I used to go and listen. I used to go and look on the shelves of all these tape programs in this little company where they had all these, quote, solutions. And so, I would scrape my money together and I'd leverage the heck out of it and I'd buy these programs. I'd be trying to program my mind, program my focus by constantly listening to something different than the environment I was living in that was telling me everything I couldn't do and what wasn't possible and how terrible the economy was. And I was just sick of it. I finally decided I had to take control. And I started listening and I started reading and I started feeding my mind. And that alone started to make a change. Because, whatever you focus on, you tend to manifest. I don't mean this just metaphysically. Has there ever been anything in your life you can remember that you finally just decided, I want that? Maybe you got inspired by somebody. Or maybe you got so angry, you got so tired of feeling a certain way, you finally said, that's it, it's changing now. And then you got focused on it. Maybe maybe that focus became something you became obsessed about. You know what I mean? Like you really kept thinking about it and dreaming about it. And I don't know about you, but most people I know have had something like this where they didn't even create a plan. It's just they were so focused on it, became such a desire, such an obsession that their mind shifted, their emotion shifted, their action shifted, things started to happen. And before they knew it, man, they were living this dream. They were living this desire. They were living this vision. Has it happened to you at some stage in your life? I bet it has. Now, if I'm looking at a pillar of progress, that's the first one that changed me way back then. But, it's great to have focus, but if you want to accelerate it, you need the second pillar of progress. And that is you got to get the best tools, the best insights, the best coach, the best mentor. It's finding the best strategies. For 30 years, I've been obsessed looking for those strategies. Because, I wanted to lose weight. That was the first thing I wanted to do. I was 38 pounds heavier than I am now. I'm talking about now, almost 2.5 decades later. I weigh still the weight that I did when I made the change, when I lost that 38 pounds. Now, how did I do it? I got focused and clear. What did I want? Why did I want it? And I got it so it was so compelling. I wasn't just trying to lose 38 pounds. I got focused on, man, I want the energy to burn. I want the stuff that when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to be excited about life. I want to look good. I want to feel strong. I want all this gift of life available in me. That was different than, man, I got to lose weight. That was a big difference when you're focused, clear, and it's compelling. But then I began to realize, okay, I was focused and clear, and then I go on one of these diets. And oh my God, I'm sure you've had the frustration if you ever tried to lose weight, you go pick up a book and the guy tells you this is the ultimate answer. And then you read another book and they say, if you do that, you'll die, do my approach. And eventually you got to start digging in and find something that makes common sense to you. But what I began to do is say, let me find some people that have gotten a lasting result. So the ultimate edge is how do you get the advantage long-term? How do you find that mental, psychological, emotional, physical, financial edge that lets you do well all the time, in good markets and in bad financially, when things are going great in your life and when it's not doing so great, when relationships are on a roll and when, man, you can't figure out what the heck to do. What's the matter with me? What's the matter with them? Why isn't this working? That's the edge. To have that edge, you need more than focus. You need strategy. You need insight. You need tools. You need the best that's worked, and you need something that's proven. So for these 3 decades, that's what I've constantly absorbed. I seek out people, I want to find out how to shift. So I decided I didn't want to just lose weight. I wanted to have energy. So at one point I finally said, who is the most energetic athlete on earth who's an amateur? Because I'm an amateur. I'm not looking for somebody who has the full-time ability to go work on their body. Of course they're going to be in great shape. Who's somebody like me that I could learn from? And I found out about a man named Stu Middleman, a guy that ran 1,000 miles in 11 days. And he wasn't even a runner at one stage in his life. Think about it. Well, he's a freak of nature. I'm not. What am I going to learn from him? Well, what I wanted to learn was energy, endurance. I thought it's great to look good. Abs are a nice thing, but what I really want is something that's going to last. I want the strength and the power to run like the wind. I want to be able to go. I want to be able to use that energy as passion in my life. And so I thought, he's a guy I want to learn from. And so I started finding out what he did. And this guy not only broke a record of 1,000 miles in 11 days, that's 85 miles roughly a day, 3 marathons plus a day for 11 consecutive days. And at the end of that process, he was stronger than when he started. Wouldn't it make you crazy to wonder how deep desire? And you got this other part of you that's totally afraid of failing. 2 conflicting desires. I want to succeed and I don't want to fail. Well, they don't go together. You want to be successful or you want to earn a lot of money and never be judged. Good luck. That's not how it works. People get jealous when someone succeeds at any level, financial, emotional, relationship. It's part of life. I want to have the most passionate, beautiful, loving relationship on earth, and I never want to be disappointed or frustrated or feel like I have no time or I'm losing freedom. These are all things that occur. As long as you're trying to achieve one thing and you got an inner conflict that says, I want to do something else simultaneously, as long as you want the benefit without any consequence, you find yourself in a position where you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been really near the edge of what you really want to achieve and you get right near that edge and then all of a sudden inside some part of you freezes or pulls back? Or even worse, you sabotage your own success? See, when this happens, it's not because your brain is out to get you. Your brain has unbelievable power when it's aligned. When what you value, what you want is aligned. That doesn't mean you can't have fears. It doesn't mean you can't have doubts. But there's some tools that you can use that can get you integrated, get you aligned. And when you're aligned, you take action. And when you take action, you learn from those actions and keep changing your approach. You begin to succeed and achieve. And when you really achieve, you start to have the experience where you begin to celebrate and you have the capacity now to give something to someone else. As corny as it sounds, a chance to pay it forward. So how do I kind of give you the background of this? How do we start this process? Well, let me tell you that there's certain patterns that human beings get caught up in that cause them to succeed, and certain patterns that make people fail. No matter how smart they are, no matter how much they know, it still sabotages them. I mean, there are patterns that make people sad, make them feel overwhelmed, make them feel stressed out when they're living in abundance. But are there patterns that do the opposite, regardless of the environment, that cause people to be able to thrive, not just survive, that cause people to be in a position where they're grateful, where they feel appreciation, where they feel strong in the midst of all their fear? There's a courage that shows up. Are there patterns that make people who've never before stepped up just do it? You bet there are. And I spent 30 years of my life looking for those. And I didn't just get them from books or even get them by facing things myself. My whole thought has been real simple. Success leaves clues, baby. Why reinvent the wheel, right? We talked about this. Go learn from somebody. If somebody figured out how to do something, it took them 20 years. Don't waste 20 years. Figure out what they got. You can adapt it and make it your own. You can shift it to your style, but the essence of that learning is there. And I've had a ticket to history just like you. Anybody who's been alive the last 2.5 decades has had a ticket to history. I mean, look around us. The fall of the wall, the fall of communism. You know, we went from a place where there were all these countries that in a millisecond could push a button and wipe out the entire planet. Now, granted, we got a new problem. We got terrorism. Somebody can drop something anywhere, but it's not the same problem. It's a different one, a different challenge, different quality. Doesn't mean it makes it any more comfortable, but it's a different world. We've all been through both the challenges, you know, the economies, the things that happen in real estate, the things that happen, the crunches, the growths, the expansions, the drops, you know, the prices of oil, everything that's been challenging. But we've also been the rise of the internet, the shift in the connection of the community around the world, human beings who care for people who live on another continent, and they don't just say they care, they're willing to do something. We're living in the most amazing time to be alive, and many people are not taking advantage of the environment they're in. Think about it. Ultimately, if you want to know what shapes it all, think about this. When people fail to achieve what they want, what's their reason? What do people tell you? Why did you fail to achieve your goal? I remember a few years ago, I got invited to speak at a group called TED, T-E-D. It means Technology, Entertainment, and Design. Great, great organization, and you can even go online and watch many of the films. They attract people from all the world to do an 18-minute talk, something you might guess I've never done in my lifetime. But they bring you in and have people talk on various subjects, and they bring in the best of the best in anthropology and design and psychology and physiology and science, and it's just an amazing place. And so, and the people that attend are about 1,000 people. And the 1,000 people attend are like the best of the best. They're, you know, the guys that started Google, the people who started Yahoo, you know, the individuals who are some of the greatest futurists alive today, some of the greatest technologists, some of the greatest intellectuals, leaders and movers and shakers from the entertainment business, from politics. So I'm thinking, I got 18 minutes. How do I get these guys going? So my first question was, everyone loves to talk about their successes, but who here has failed? And I raised my hand, and nobody raised their hand. I said, well, thanks for your full participation. I said, come on, be honest. Who here has ever failed? I said, if you don't raise your hand, you lie about other things too. And so sure enough, everybody starts raising their hand. And I said, so here's my question. When you failed, why did you fail? Why did you fail? And so it was kind of quiet. I said, just shout it out. And somebody said, well, we didn't have the right technology. And somebody else shouted out, well, we didn't have enough time. And somebody else said, we didn't have the capital resources, also known as money. Somebody else said, well, you know, we didn't have the right people. I said, that's what most managers tell me. I didn't have the right people. Most people say, we didn't have the right manager. Everybody kind of had that nervous laugh. And more things kept flashing out faster and faster. And then all of a sudden I heard a voice in the darkness that said, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. And there was this pause, and all of a sudden people started laughing and then clapping. And I looked down in the front row in the darkness, and there was Vice President Al Gore. And he laughed, everybody kind of giggled, and I said, wow, that's one way of explaining why you failed to achieve your goal to be president. But I said, let's look a little deeper. Everyone here is given reasons, and I've used some of these too, so I'm not pointing any fingers here. But what are these reasons? I didn't have the time. I didn't have the technology. We didn't have the right contacts. We didn't know the right people, in other words. We didn't have the tools. We had the wrong leaders. Everybody's got their list, but what do all these things have in common? I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. What do all these things have in common? And all of a sudden, there's a pause and somebody said it. They're all resources. I said, that's right. The biggest illusion we have in life of why we failed to achieve something is we start to believe that we're missing the resources.